Record. Hello everyone and welcome so much. Thank you so much for joining us for Kineo Totara office hours today. A little bit about myself. My name is Taylor Craig and I am the platforms consultant, actually a platforms consultant here at Kineo. I now have a partner in crime, Tammy Belgard, who has joined me on today's call. She is going to be joining us as well as a platforms consultant here at Kineo as well. So what our job entails is kind of working with all of our clients in all aspects. So clients from the first point of sale, we sometimes work with our sales team to make sure that you guys understand the system and that it fits you perfectly. And then also we work with you all the way through implementation, training you on the core pieces of Totara all the way through to any customizations that Kineo may do for you as well. So we do quite a lot with you here, and you get to work with our platforms consultants quite regularly, as well as our amazing solution architect. So that's something that you also get the opportunity to work with here. So a little bit about office hours. Who are they available to and why do we do these? So Kineo office hours are available only to our clients as far as the 45 minutes of open floor and discussion. We do post these 15-minute feature presentations. We do post those up to YouTube for anybody to view in case they want them, need them. We also use them as other points of reference throughout the company here as well. So those 15-minute feature presentations, we use those in quite a few different ways. But the 45 minutes of open floor and questions, that is only for you, our client. So we want you to come, bring us your questions, bring us your ideas, bring us anything that you have. No questions too big or no questions too small. If I don't know the answer, I will stalk someone here at Kineo until they give me the correct answer, guys. So I will make sure we get that answer and I'll get it back to you. Guys, if you have an idea for a session, please, please, please go and submit it here. I do have the link listed in this presentation, but then I also have it. I will list it and post it on the YouTube in the comments as well. So if you have an idea, please feel free to let me know. What do you want to hear about? So today what we're going to be talking about is 360 feedback. This is a really cool tool that is available core in your system. It's already there, depending on the version. If you're on 2.7 and above, it's definitely there. I believe it's even in 2.5. It kind of works in correlation with appraisal. If you didn't see last week's session, I recommend going onto the YouTube channel, take a look at our session that we did on appraisal last week. Or was it week before last? I don't remember, but it's posted. So go take a look at the appraisal session, because in that we talk about what appraisals are. So appraisals are going to be a manager's review of their direct report. So the appraisal, the manager's going in and saying, okay, this is how I feel about my employee. However, we also have the ability to do 360 feedback. 360 feedback is very, very similar, except for the learner is actually requesting that information from their peers. So they're actually sending out this similar appraisal, basically, but the learner can say, you know what, I want to send this to all of my peers, and then the peers actually report back what they think as well. So it kind of brings that whole employee review type of thing full circle. So not only are they being reviewed by their manager, they're also being reviewed by the people they work directly with every single day. So that's really nice. And then they can also send it to anybody else on the system as well. So they may have somebody that they've maybe worked with once or twice, but still want their opinion. So they can also send that out as well. So a couple of things here. Why don't I see it on my site? If you don't see it on your site, you probably don't have it turned on. If you have already been implemented through Kineo, it may not have been something that you needed at that time, so it was possibly turned off. So I'll show you where to turn that on. And then also we'll talk about how you actually set one up. Guys, one thing to keep in mind, Totara has redone and revamped their documentation. I just want to kind of point this out to you so that you're aware of it and know how to utilize the system. This is something to be aware of. It is way better. It's really cool. Lots of stuff here. So you'll see here, I've direct linked you straight to the 360 feedback area, and we've got 6 child pages. So each of these pages are going to give you lots of information here. Okay, and then also if you go back out, you'll see you can choose your version, and then from there you have, you know, your hierarchies, audiences, programs, all of your certifications, learning plans, and then you can actually search for different aspects as well. So something to keep in mind and something to be aware of. You've also got it kind of broken down here in these child pages as well. or you can search. Also, guys, the URL has changed. If you're going to the help.totaralms.com, it will redirect you here to help.totaralearning.com. So just be aware of that. Wanted to make that known so that you don't get lost, because I've referred you back to the old site in past sessions. So just be aware of that, guys. All right, so where in the world do we turn this stuff on, and how do we make it work? So the first thing that we want to do is we want to go in and actually make sure it's turned on our site. That is going to be located underneath your advanced features, same place where your appraisals were turned on. So we're going to scroll until we get there. There we go. Okay, so you'll see here, enable appraisals, enable 360 feedbacks. So if you don't see it on your site, so if you don't have it anywhere, and I'll show you where we find it here in a minute, but if you don't see it, you want to make sure first and foremost that you've even got it turned on, because it may be hidden or it may be disabled. By default, it is turned on, so you should be seeing it, but again, if you've gone through implementation and it wasn't part of your implementation or it wasn't relevant at the time, probably to cut down on confusion and user experience, it very well could have been turned off. So that's where you're going to turn it on. So once you have it turned on and everybody's happy there, what you're going to do is you're going to come under here, underneath your site administration, appraisals, and you've got your manage appraisals option, but you also have the ability to manage feedback. So I'm just going to show you kind of where this is set up. And then it's going to work very similar to appraisals. You simply click on create feedback, you name it, give it a description if you want to, create that feedback, and then you add in your content. So this is really similar to your appraisal. Now, one thing you're going to notice here, we don't have the stages that we have in appraisals, so that's a little bit different. It's kind of more of a here's some questions, answer them type of thing, versus with appraisals, you'll notice in our last session that we talked about, those appraisals, you kind of had a workflow. You could pass it back and forth between the learner and the manager. But in this case, we are the employee and we're asking questions of our peers. So again, I'm in as a site administrator at this point, so your admins actually have to build out that feedback for them. So it works the same way, very similar as far as your setting up all of your questions and all of that good stuff. Then you have your assignments tab. Underneath your assignments tab, you have the ability to assign this to a particular audience. If you're using organizations and positions on your site, you also have the ability to designate a particular organization or a particular position. So you have the ability to do that as well. So let's take a look at what this looks like from an employee's point of view who's been tasked with doing this. And actually what's interesting was we have actually just implemented this here at Kineo. We are actually using it on our platforms team, which is the team that Tammy and I are a part of. And so we're actually going to be doing this for our yearly employee reviews. And so what we have been tasked with by our manager, and this isn't the actual site, but what we've been tasked with and what we would have to do is come in as employees or learners on this LMS, go to the appraisal tab, and then what you're going to see is if 360 feedback is turned on and it's relevant, you've got one assigned to you, you're going to see it show up underneath this area. If it's not relevant to you and it hasn't been assigned to you, you don't see that 360 feedback area in that drop-down. So I am going to come in here, and I don't really see a whole lot at this point. I see feedback about you. Nothing's been said yet. And nobody's asked me to provide feedback of them yet. But I do have the ability to request that feedback. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here, I'm going to request feedback, and I'm going to add users. So I'm going to say I can pick whoever I want to review me, but I also know that Walker Reed is who I'm logged in as on another browser. So we're going to also add him because we know we need his advice as well. Okay, and you can send in your, you can do also external requests as well here, so you can put in an email address. You can also provide them with a particular due date. So you can say, you know what guys, I need this back by a particular time, and then you can go ahead and request. Okay, so it's gonna ask me if I'm sure. I'm sure, I want to confirm this. So now let's go take a look and see what it looks like from the other people's point of view. Let's look at a couple of things as well here, but though from Reed's perspective. So he has the ability to stop it at any time. So he can come in and say, oh, nope, everybody's saying really wonderful things about me. I'm going to stop it. I'm good. I'm going to quit while I'm ahead. Or he can actually send out reminders. So he can say, hey, I need to remind these people that they need to do something for me. So he has the ability to do that. And he can also come back in and he can edit. So he can say, you know, I need to add additional folks to this if I need to, or remove people for that matter. Okay, so let's go in as Walker now. So I'm in as Walker Reed in this window. Again, he's going to see 360 feedback. He's going to also see it because it's now relevant to him. And you'll see here, he's actually had some feedback about himself. So somebody has already reviewed him utilizing that particular one, but he also sees here, give feedback about your colleagues. He sees that Reed has asked him, and he sees he's got a due date and it's currently pending. So he can go in and respond. And then whatever questions were set up by the administrator, this particular one, I think we actually called it 360 feedback, but you can call it whatever you need to call it, employee evaluation review, whatever you need to name it. You'll notice here I do have a save progress option. So we're going to give Reed a stellar review. We're going to submit his feedback. Okay? And so now he has the option, Walker does, to view his response. If we jump back over as Reed, the person being reviewed, we're going to refresh that screen real quick. Okay, now you're going to see here he's got responses out of 4. He has 1 new one. So he can click on the name of that assessment, and he's able to see who actually said something about him. Now, that makes perfect sense because he actually went out and asked these individuals for their input. So that was something we actually had a conversation about internally was, do we want it to be anonymous results? And if so, maybe we need to use a different tool because in this particular case, it's actually not an anonymous result. We know exactly who said it. So we have opted, in our case, to leave it open because we're asking for that request, that feedback anyway. We need to know that information from our peers. But if you did happen to want a more anonymous type of situation, the way that you might go about doing that is utilizing feedback, which is a course level module, and that's located down inside the course. And then in that particular case, you can request for anonymous results. However, in that case, it's not about a particular person necessarily, okay? So just keep that in mind. Different ways of going about it, different things for different people, but this is your option as far as 360 feedback is concerned. Again, it's core, it's standard, it's already part of your system more than likely. So if you want to use it, go out there and use it. If you've got any questions, now's the time. I'm going to turn it over to you guys. Any questions?